Hello class, we're about to start section 7.6, solving rational equations. Now, it says a rational equation in one variable is an equation in one variable in which each side can be written as a rational expression. For example, we got 2x plus 3 is equal to 3x minus 5. If you take out the equal sign, or better yet, if we look to the left side, this is an expression. We look to the right side, this is also an expression. But we put these two expressions together, and they equal two rational equation and one variable expressions. Now, we can also do that with a fraction. We can have x over 3 minus 7 is equal to 1/3. And this is also a rational equation in one variable. Now remember, rational numbers are basically any fractions that you can think of. It's any fractions you can think of as a rational number. And now we're about to go down here to objective 1. We have solved rational equations. When we solve equations involving fractions, we use a technique called clearing the fractions. Now, in order to clear the fractions, we must find a common denominator of 2, 3, and 6. The common denominator of all of these values is 6. So we'll multiply this whole equation by 6. Now, this is how we would do it. We know 2 and 6 both have 2 in common. This 2 would simplify out, and this 6 would simplify out to 3. So we'll have 3 times x, which is 3x. Now we'll say how many times does 3 go into 6? 2. And we'll take 2 times 8, which is 16. These 6 will simplify out, and that would just leave us 1. Now we could solve the equation. We'll subtract 16 on both sides, and we'll have 3x is equal to negative 15. Divide each side by 3, and x is negative 5. Now we're going to use the same concept to solve this problem here. Now, if you notice, we have a denominator of x, a denominator of 2, and then we had a whole number 4, which we know has a denominator of 1. So the common denominator of x, 2, and 1, we know would be 2x. So we'll multiply this whole equation by 2x. Now we know these x's will simplify out, but we'll make this 2x over 1. These x's will simplify out, and 2 times 9 will give us 18. These 2's will simplify out and leave us x. X times a minus 1 will give us minus x. And it equals. Now we have nothing to simplify out with the 1, so we'll take 2x times 4, which will give us 8x. Now, we can add x on both sides. We have 18 is equal to 9x. We divide each side by 9. And 18 divided by 9, I'm going to write the final answer over here. 18 divided by 9 is 2. And it equals to 9x over 9 will leave x. So our final answer here is x equals 2. Now, with rational equations, it is possible to take the usual steps of solving equations, yet arrive with x values that are excluded values for one or more of the fractions in the equation. These values of x are not solutions. We call these values of x extraneous solutions. Since multiplying both sides of a rational equation by the LCD may introduce extraneous solutions, we must always check that any proposed solution is not an excluded solution, which basically means whatever answer we come up with cannot make the original equation denominator equal 0. Okay, now, when we come down here, this gives us the steps for solving a rational equation in one variable, which you can read at your leisure. Now let's look down here at example 2. It says solve. Now if you look here, to me what would be the easiest thing to do is to multiply all of this by the common denominator of these numbers. We know this 3 is assumed to be over 1, and this 1 is assumed to be over 1. So our denominators are x1 and x1. So that would mean we would multiply this whole equation Now I'm going to put the x on the outside here. I know this is letter A, but this is x over 1 times this bracket here. Okay, now these x's will simplify out to 1, and 1 times 8 is 8. Now if you look here at this denominator, it doesn't simplify with this x, so we'll take x times the minus 3, which will give us minus 3x. Now we go across the equal sign. These x's simplify out to 1, and 1 times 4 is 4. Now, it's nothing, this 1 does not simplify out with this x. You know, this is the denominator of 1. So we'll just take this x times the minus 1, which will give us minus x. Now, we need to solve for x. Now, what we could do is we could add x on both sides. And this will give us 8 minus 2x is equal to 4. Now, we'll subtract 8 on both sides. We have negative 2x is equal to negative 4. Divide each side by negative 2, and x is positive 2. Now, what we need to do with our solution here is go and see if this solution makes these original denominators equal 0. We know if we put in 2 here, this would just be 2 for the denominator. And if we put 2 here, it would just be 2 for the denominator. So this is not an extraneous solution. Now we go here. We have our denominators 3, 6x, and 2. Our common denominator of 3, 6x, and 2 is actually 6x. So we'll make that 6x over 1. 3 goes into 6 twice, so you add 2x times x, which is 2x squared. And then we'll have these 6x's that will simplify out to 1, and 1 times a minus 5 will be minus 5. And it equals 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times, so it'll be 3x times 1, which is 3x. Now, we could set this equal to 0 by subtracting 3x on both sides. And we will have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Now, what we have to do is we need to factor this here. Now, we could use the ABC method that I showed you all in chapter 6. I'm going to go up a little bit to give myself some room. So we will have A, which is equal to 2, B is negative 3, and C is negative 5. So now we multiply our A and C. 2 times negative 5 we know is negative 10. Now we need to find the factors of 10. I tell you to find the factors of 10 even though it's negative 10. So we'll take the factors of 10, which would be 1 and 10, and also 2 and 5. Now, what we have to do is this here. Whenever your C is negative and your B is negative, that means that the higher numbers are negative. So the 10 will be negative here, and then this 5 will be negative here. So now, when we add these together, we have to pick the one that will give us negative 3. 1 plus negative 10 is negative 9, so we know we don't use that. 2 plus a negative 5 is negative 3, so we'll use 2 and negative 5. So we'll have 2x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 5 equals 0. We group the first two, we can factor out a 2x, and we'll be left with x plus 1. Now we group the second two values. Now remember I told you, when you group the second two values, if your first term is negative, you factor out, whatever you factor out must be negative. So negative 5x minus 5, we'll factor out a negative 5, and that will leave us x plus 1, and that equals 0. Now, we have both of these parentheses are the same, so what we do is one parenthesis would be one of the repeaters, and then a second parenthesis would be everything on the outside. Now we set both of these parentheses equal to 0. So we have x plus 1 equals 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. So we'll subtract 1 on both sides, and x is negative 1. Here we'll add 5 on both sides. We add 2x equals 5, and then divide each side by 2, and x is 5 halves. Now, our final answer here, and this is from me having a little lack of space, but our final answer here would be x is equal to negative 1 comma 5/2. That would be our final answer. Now, what we need to do, and I just knew this anyway, but you are supposed to go up here to make sure that neither one of your answers made these denominators equal 0. We know if we put in -1 for x, the denominator would be -6. And if we put in 5/2 for x, then our denominator still won't equal 0. So the -1 and 5/2 works. Okay, now we go down here to example 3. It says solve. Now I made sure that I had enough room here to solve this problem. So first thing with A, I'm going to rewrite this problem. And what we need here is to find the common denominator. The common denominator of this whole equation is t minus 2. So we'll multiply everything by t minus 2. And I just put it over 1 so it'll be a fraction as well. Now this 2 here, I should have put it over 1 just to make it consistent with the fractions. So t minus 2, since this is over 1, we'll just take t minus 2 times 2, which will give us 2t minus 4. That took care of this first part. These t minus 2 simplify out, and you're left with 1. 1 times a minus 1 will give you a minus 1. And that equals, these t minus 2 simplify out, and 1 times t minus 3 is t minus 3. Now, we will end up with 2t minus 5 is equal to t minus 3. Now, we will add 5 on both sides. And we'll have 2t is equal to t plus 2. Subtract t on both sides. And we'll have t is equal to 2. Now, here's the problem. We had t is equal to 2, so we need to go back up here and make sure that this 2 does not make this denominator equal 0. If we put in 2 for t here, 2 minus 2 is 0. That makes the denominator 0 and undefined. So our final answer here is t is not equal to 2, and this answer is no solution. There's no solution to this answer. Okay, now we go to B. Now we do the same thing. Let's rewrite this. 8y over y plus 1 is equal to 4 minus 8 over y plus 1. We'll put 1 under this 4, and the common denominator of all these is y plus 1. So we'll put y plus 1 over 1. These y plus 1s will simplify out, and that will leave you 8y. Y plus 1 times 4 will give us 4y plus 4. These y plus 1 simplify out. 1 times a minus 8 will give you minus 8. So you add 8y is equal to 4y. 4 minus 8 will give you a minus 4. Now we will subtract 4y on both sides. And we will have 4y is equal to a negative 4. Now we'll divide each side by 4, and y is equal to negative 1. Now we look down here, if we substitute in negative 1 for y, negative 1 plus 1 is 0, so we know that makes that denominator 0, so it's the same as the previous answer. Y does not equal to negative 1, so it's no solution. Now, we go here to C and D. Now with C and D here, we want to find a common denominator. Now the first thing I probably would do is take the factorization of p squared minus 9. That's the difference of two squares. So this would be 6 over p minus 3, p plus 3, which we learn how to do the difference of two squares in the, chapter 6. So it'd be 1 over p plus 3 is equal to 1 over p minus 3. Okay, now if you look here, the common denominator would be p minus 3, p plus 3. So we'll multiply everything by p minus 3 and also p plus 3. Now I didn't leave myself enough space, which I will correct here at the bottom. So we'll do p minus 3, p plus 3,